And welcome to another wonderful journey with I Love Black People. And we have someone who's been so gracious with her time and gracious with her thoughts. Our sister, your sister, good sister, Dreesa Heath.
This is I Love Black People Radio on H.U.R Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are.
Thank you for joining us again on I Love Black People.
Thanks so much, Sinclair. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And so just want to get a heads up. Everyone knows that you're our go-to person on everything reparations. And again, there's so many people in this space, and you never hold yourself out as being the only person. And have actually said there are so many voices in this space. Not all of them are heard, but all of them are so important. Where are we now in the reparations space as it relates to H.R. 40 and the progress?
Absolutely. And I appreciate you lifting up all my other comrades in this fight, because it is a collective group of us. And, that's growing every day. And you yourself, anybody listening to this show can educate themselves and work to be a reparationist for towards the liberation of our people. So I encourage all of you to be, stewards of this work. It's life's work, but it's transformative and revolutionary. So where we are right now, again, still, post August recess, we had commitments from House leadership, which includes, kind of the three big wigs in the Democratic Party, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Leader Hoyer, Steny Hoyer, as well as Whip James Clyburn, that we might see a vote on H.R. 40 on the floor prior to the August recess. That did not happen. We are now in September, looking at the fall. But the fall is a shortened time, right, for political calculations. They're dealing with budget reconciliation now. You may have seen, the Democratic Party is trying to incorporate a pathway to citizenship for immigrants through the reconciliation package. There's been conversations about how we can incorporate H.R. 40 into that reconciliation package as, this commission to investigate and provide reparations proposals. So House leadership and the House of Representatives has not moved forward on H.R. 40 despite historic momentum. And there's also that bifurcated strategy of hitting the administration, right? Because we have a president with also a vice president who supported the Senate companion of this bill. But the president himself has made these verbal commitments to advance racial justice, to have Black people's back. Well, there is no other issue more important to have Black people's back than supporting our well-being, which includes a thorough reparations package. Whatever those remedies look like, it needs to be holistic. He can commit to establishing, it's been 100 days already of his administration and of Congress. He can establish the Reparations Commission himself, and it would be a non-issue. I get a little fiery about this because, again, we're not talking about a direct proposal in H.R. 40, S40. That doesn't mean that there isn't value. There is extreme value in what H.R. 40 would provide. We've never done a comprehensive assessment of the government's violations or emissions of initiatives that would advance the well-being of Black people and enhance the lives of Black people, but also of the repairing that needs to happen in addition to economic development and development policies, in addition to what regular public policy should be doing, but for centuries has instead just continued to pull us back. So we're seeing unprecedented numbers in despite poverty falling because of cash stimulus, the racial wealth gap is still widening. These are the reminders that reparations must be on the table, whether it be through H.R. 40 or whether it be through another direct proposal that not only looks at the economic harms and impacts of racist policy, of white supremacist violence, but also of the psychological impacts, of the social and political impacts that have happened across decades, but also cumulatively across centuries.
And I think you're making such a great point. And again, you don't need me to share that because you're the one teaching and mentoring me in this space. But when folks talk about H.R. 40 being just a study, that's not a reason not to pass it. If anything, the consequences of this set forth a host of opportunities that will lead us to the reparations we deserve. Did we need a study to do so? There's probably been many studies, as you would admit, that came before, but this is an unprecedented time where we literally got this bill to the floor of the Congress. Prior to this, it stayed in a committee for 30 years, which is absurd. The fact that we're currently in a situation where just one more vote would at least get it out of the House and we would actually have this bill. I guess the question that I have, with that being said, mechanically or procedurally, what are the next steps and what do we as the people, what can we do to help with this?
Absolutely. So, next steps, we're continuing to grow our movement, right? They're not going to stifle this historic momentum. Once in a generation opportunity is what we have here. And I and other advocates truly believe that. We also are foreshadowing what may happen in midterms. Now, historically, you've seen, and just in terms of, political patterns, that if you have a president of one party that's coming in, normally the Congress changes. So we're looking at a midterms where, we may have a total opposite Congress in terms of politically come next year than we do today. And for that, if one party is going to be more rights respecting and actually at least attempt to tend to people's rights and needs, to not take fully advantage of that through not only whatever assistance people need through COVID relief or entrepreneurship grants or access to healthcare, access to education, those efforts, to also not use this moment to advance reparations would be just a huge, huge misstep and failure. And so what we're looking at is continuing, we've done all we can at the federal lobbying effort. We have 193 co-sponsors on this bill in the House. Most bills pass with not even close to that amount of co-sponsors. So they're stalling because this is a Black issue, and they don't want to deal with it in the ways that they have put on the table and promised to, quite frankly.
And I think, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'm going to just talk about some of the people I've heard. I think they've alluded to the midterms and the feedback about making sure that we have reparation as representation, literally saying that there are people very concerned that this bill has taken 30 years in the first place, and it's only a study, and that if it doesn't make it past to this point, that there needs to be a real constructive analysis in the midterm to say who and what candidates will be the ones that would no longer allow this bill to languish as it has, and put us in a position where we actually can get to what we've again been waiting too long as it is. Now, again, when it comes to these midterms, we know turnout is everything, because oftentimes, because there's not a presidential candidate at the top of the ticket, the turnout beyond the unfortunate, wicked Republican attempts to drive voter turnout down, there's just a midterm lull in turnout. It's going to be important that agendas, especially of the most activists and ardent people in our community, are making sure that the vote is directly connected to an agenda. And the fact that we have an agenda that's this clear, this close, those folks that are in office not being able to get this across the finish line is probably more a reflection of the representation we have in Congress than it is of the actual bill itself. As it relates to that, and again, I'm not putting that. What are there any discussions being held now to hold people accountable if this doesn't get passed? Or are we still thinking through this and see a path to victory?
We are always going to hold, I see both of those processes being able to happen at the same time. We can push the pedal on a victory here, either through the congressional avenues or at the administration level. And the outside pressure, that's what we're working on now, organizing, very diligently to pinpoint particular people in particular places that hold a particular amount of power, because that's really what this all is about. They recognize our collective power, but also they are flexing their individual power as the holders of how, whether things advance or not. We're also at the same coin, the accountability piece is key. We have elected people who we think will represent our interests. And, even prior to recess, the Congressional Black Caucus was a bit upset that they weren't able to bring anything extremely substantial back home to their districts. Not to say that every CBC member represents a predominantly Black district, but just in terms of the mission of the CBC. They are fully behind H.R. 40 and S40 in standing up this reparations commission. They were, out in numbers in Tulsa during the centennial, fighting not only at the local level for victims of the massacre and its continuing impacts on the Black Tulsa community today, but also at the national level. And they're needing to be not this gap between local and state efforts advancing forward on reparations and then the federal government just sitting on their hands.
Well, I think the fact you're bringing this home and talking about some of the different ways that folks within the system being elected people, as well as us who are part of the system as citizens and taxpayers who fund this wonderful democracy. We're having a conference coming up, and we purposely with I would say you've helped inspire in the work that's actually so many have done with H.R. 40 to have as our theme this year reparations and revolutions. And I have to admit, we actually had that theme about 2 years ago, and I thought it was great to bring it back. And please don't judge me. And one of our keynotes is going to be Sister Erica Alexander. And I know you had told me that she's doing some wonderful work to highlight and spotlight the issues. And she has a program. I know you had mentioned me the name, and I'm definitely going to research it. She's actually coming, so I want to be super prepared.
Absolutely, the big payback.
A big payback. All right. All right.
Reparations podcast, surveying the space, doing really great work.
All right. Well, we're definitely going to pull that all that information in as a part of this upcoming conference, and I know you got to go, so I'm going to keep on talking about that. But thank you so much, as always, Sister Dreesen, for giving us the insight that we can use to empower ourselves to make the best decisions to move our communities forward. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Sister.
Thank you.
All right. And now we just want to just definitely show our appreciation to all you who've been following this path. We have a great opportunity for you to participate in a summit that we're having, and it was planned to be hosted at Howard University with the help of the late amazing Dr. Gary L. Harris. We've held it at the Interdisciplinary Science Building on Georgia Avenue as a part of Howard University in Washington, D.C. And this year, because of the COVID and Delta variant issues and concerns of health, we will have a totally virtual event. Now, as I alluded to with Dreesen, we're going to have some great participation as always as we focus in on how to leverage this particular technology to empower our Black community to solve old problems. And as we always discuss in this space, as we deal with a global Black agenda using revolutionary innovation, these are tools. And we want to make it clear. And as we move forward with the summit, as it comes closely upon us, will be Friday and Saturday, September 25th. You can get your tickets. They're free. iloveblackpeople.com. Everyone is welcome to participate. It's important that you use this opportunity to immerse yourself into this information. The Saturday event will be interactive as a live stream. So you'll be able to ask questions, engage the particular presenters, as well as be able to fellowship afterwards at a locally Black-owned establishment owned by a Tasfai Wube at the Barcode Restaurant on it's 17th and L. So streets, Northwest Washington, D.C. So it's from 6 to 8. So literally the conference is going to start on Friday at 7:30 and they end at 6 and on Friday, and start the same and end the time on Saturday. And then we have an event from 6 to 8 that will be outdoors at the Barcode. Again, our concern has been the health of our people. We want you to be able to convene next year, and we take this COVID very serious. We've had people debating: is this man-made or is it natural? Regardless of your perspective on that, it's toxic, and is a reflection of a toxic world. And deliberate things have to be done to protect each other. And we see it as being very important to make sure that we don't have all of our best and brightest minds in a room where there's a high chance that someone could then leave that space and end up sick. So it's been after a lot of late nights and early mornings discussing and evaluating what's best. And we just must say, again, shout out to Howard University for being very understanding, even with the late notice, and being able to work with us on addressing this issue. And we're just so thankful for all our sponsors that have helped us build this Black Blockchain Summit to what it is today. Our co-host, John Karanja from Kenya, and BitHub Africa has been super amazing. Tongai Choto with AfroBlocks, they provide a freelance of technical support all over with the folks from Africa serving the world. So we're making sure that we do everything that we can to give our people what they need in order to continue building what we've been doing in a way that makes sense for our whole entire community, as well as making sure that, again, we give you insights, like Cleb Messidor and the work she's doing with blockchain legislation, Bitcoin Zay, Isaiah, who has probably one of the most prolific books that's ever been written in our community, with Bitcoin and Black America. And we even have some rising stars with Justin Reddick, who's got a book, Bars to Bitcoin, talking about the actual justice community and the things that we are facing and how we can leverage technology. We also have people who have been critical of the space and who are really doing some amazing work to elevate and to give us an analysis of what we need to do as it relates to Dr. Jared Ball out of Morgan State. And we've had other folks who've come, like Derek Hamilton, talking about really where economics stand and how we can use this economic system for the betterment of our own community and not be distracted by scams. And a lot of the people who are in the blockchain space are very concerned about being taken advantage of, and we should. That these technologies or people trying to get rich quick, we have to be very clear. None of this is a silver bullet. The work that is going to take to change the world that we want to live in is going to happen in all fields of human endeavor, every area, as Francis Cress Welsing would say, of people activity. And it's important that we literally stay super focused, that it will always be the people that make the change. It's all power to the people. This show is I Love Black People. We're clear that race is a fiction, that we're, as human beings, more the same than different. With that being said, racism is real. White supremacist ideology is real, and we have to do just as much deliberate things are being done to harm us. We have to be deliberate in protecting ourselves and protecting our communities and our loved ones to create this world that we want to live in. And in so doing so, we need to make sure that we're aware of all the tools out there that can be used to harm us or to help us. And much of that is going to be based on our orientation and how we see ourselves. There's so many people who, in many ways, are preaching a financial gospel of prosperity that, in many ways, imitates a predatory, colonial, imperial model of exploitation that got us, again, human trafficking, trafficking of drugs and weapons, that, as we would all agree, are negative consequences of people trying to exploit our people. So it's important that we use this time to make sure that we all benefit from what we're doing, and make sure that this time that we spend together through the Black Blockchain Summit is fruitful. So make sure you use this time wisely. Use it to learn, and we're going to be talking about NFTs, as non-fungible tokens that are being used as a way for artists to secure their claims to their intellectual property. But just like we've seen in other art worlds, where like the Mona Lisa is worth all this money, which we know is ridiculous. Well, those same things can be done using digital and blockchain technology. Be very mindful that we don't want to imitate the parts of this current world that are problematic and harmful. We want to create a world that's better than the one we have, and that's more helpful than the one we have. And the way we do that is take the technology that's there, understand it, be able to use it as well as create it ourselves, and then apply it with a real understanding of our problems. And when I say real, a analytical understanding of our problems that allows us to use these technologies as solution. So that's the 4-year experience of the Black Blockchain Summit, with your support and so many others that oftentimes are behind the scenes. Again, we have a brother Amadou in the background, Award, Alex. There's so many people that are doing things to try to make this conference, have made this conference amazing. We have sponsors like Gemini, Uphold, the Black Bitcoin billionaires have been so super helpful. Lamar Wilson, been a giant, came and just shut down the show. And I would be remiss in not mentioning my mentor in the space, and I'd say we call Bitcoin Godfather Max Kaiser, who has the Kaiser Report that's been so helpful. And then even my mentor in the XM space, Sister Karen Hunter, who's done so much to cover this particular area in a way that's respectful of our community. We definitely have to send shout outs to her. My co-founder, I Love Black People, Mr. Christopher Mapindera, who's been super helpful in making sure that we have everything we need, as well as, of course, the mayor of Washington, D.C., who's always been supportive, Muriel Bowser, as well as her whole staff, who've always been super supportive of our event. The president of Howard University, Fredericks, thank you. We want to make sure. And then Dr. Todd Shern, who literally has made all these things possible as a tenured professor at Howard University, and his students who oftentimes volunteer and have helped us with the actual conference itself, because we want to make sure we always have students engaged at the earliest levels, not just in the university level. Even we've had high school, elementary. Shout out to Ayana Mackins, who's had so many of her people involved with this at the youngest ages.
This is I Love Black People Radio on H.U.R. Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to iloveblackpeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are. Special thanks to Banneker Communities.